Hey, I'm Ryan.
I'm Jimmy.
I'm Connor.
And we're at Movie Clips, and we're going to be doing our review of Prometheus. We are the positive group. We all love the movie. We will be getting the negative group in here to respond to us later. But we're the ones who loved it, so we're going to start off talking about the movie. First off, what was our favorite part of the movie?
And also, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know anything else about the film, other than the fact that we saw it, stop watching now.
Yeah, if you've been avoiding, get out of here. But, favorite
one,
part of the movie?
What was your favorite part of the film?
I'd say the pacing. The movie is about 2 hours and 15 minutes long. To me, it felt like it was like an hour and 15 minutes long. This movie moves from the first frame. It's pretty incredible.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Connor?
My favorite thing about this movie is that it seemed to, at its heart, be about and definitely gave a very clear definition of who the space jockey was. I think the whole movie is essentially about answering that question, even though they talk about the larger ideas of life and creation. I think they essentially just give you this concrete answer, this is who the space jockey is. And I thought it was a really cool thing. I mean, in the first Alien movie, you have absolutely no idea who it is. You can make up your own opinion. Mm-hmm. They actually gave a very clear-cut answer to that question, and it's a cool answer.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's really interesting, especially because you see the space jockey in the first film, and it's this character that is just so odd. You only see it for just a brief moment, but ever since that movie came out, it has lived in this shroud of mystery.
There's been speculation
it's been this
for
infamous
years.
Character, because you don't know who it is or what its greater purpose is, other than the fact that it's just some dead thing in the middle of a ship that they find on some moon or some planet. It's really compelling to see, this is their civilization, this is their technology, and actually, we came from them. It's really cool.
Which brings up a really good point, because this movie deals a lot with big kind of themes and questions about where we come from, where we go when we die.
So that's the next question.
How do you guys feel about how this movie handled it?
I mean, it definitely gave, like with the space jockey, it gave a very clear-cut definition. In the fiction of this story, it's saying humanity came from this kind of biological engineering experiment implemented by these creatures, or at least that's what's strongly suggested. They leave it a little open-ended towards the end, but they seem to answer it, and they also address religion and some bigger questions. I think they addressed it well within the context of the story.
I agree with you. I think that they weaved it into what is essentially a sci-fi action film.
Exactly.
They weave in these big themes without it really ever seeming on the nose to me. And also, they had kind of the nerve to create a definitive, not answer to the life's questions, but a definitive origin story for humanity in a film, which I think was a brave thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the opening shot, we are presumably on Earth, and we see one of these the engineers, as they're called, disintegrate himself after drinking this liquid, and that becomes the building blocks of humanity, and it kind of harks back to the Prometheus story, and that's the origin of life, right?
Yeah.
And throughout the film, there are different characters that have different takes on it. There's science. What's interesting is that they do definitely address, science versus religion, faith versus technology and that kind of stuff, and sort of trying to get the underlying message across that even if you believe in God, you can still be a scientist. But I loved how they address those conflicts of interest, especially among Numa Rapace's character, who is a scientist who almost more than anybody else wants to believe and know her origins and what happens afterward.
And I think that they're also,
but still has a grounded belief in God.
Yes,
and wears a cross. And
I think characters' interactions or dynamics in how they're receiving this information they're getting in the film is also, whether you agree with it or not, is also them kind of making a statement about humanity and how it interacts with its faith, and how it will receive information in response to that.
And it did it all without being, I felt, preachy at all.
I didn't feel it was on the nose or preachy at all.
The movie itself seemed to have absolutely no opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just presented the story, presented these different viewpoints, but took no opinion. And
I think a huge criticism is that it asks these questions and doesn't try to answer them. But I think it would be, I would find it really obnousch for them to try to answer.
I would say that they're going off track from just making a solid sci-fi movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Now,
to that point though, I think they do answer all the questions very clearly, and I think that it's just something that is a disconnect within our own selves, and that's also something that Shaw shares, is that the answer is so simple that it's almost too impossible to be true, too hard for us to believe. Like, we were created by someone just because they could. It's like what what Logan Marshall Green says to David. We created you because we could.
Yeah.
You know, and he says, how disappointing would it be if your creator said the same thing about you?
And it seems almost like they did.
That's basically, what it is. And, for whatever reason, that's just the way things are. We came to being because of evolution, and these little things grew out of nothing. It's random chance that we look the way we are and we act the way we are.
In the world of the film, it's kind of what they're proposing, that it's all random. Now, we're talking about the characters. I have a feeling everybody will probably have the same answer, but who was your favorite character in the movie?
I mean, I know that David is probably the most complex. He's, on the one hand, the most simple, yet the most complex character.
He's been kind of far and away. People are saying Michael Fassbender steals the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost argue, though, that Shaw is probably...
Yeah, Noomi Rapace's
character is probably one of my all-time favorite, female characters in a film, having seen this movie. I'm a huge fan of Blade Runner. I'm a huge fan of Alien. I know that the android stories that run through all those films are always really very intriguing, and I love that they didn't let the world of those films down by, giving them a bad android. But David's amazing. He's incredible.
And Fassbender gives an incredible performance. It's really something. I think David is probably the most interesting to me. I enjoy Rafe Spall's geologist, the guy who kind of interacts with the snake-like thing. He unfortunately meets his demise very early on, but I thought the charisma and excitement he brought to the screen was really enjoyable to watch. But I didn't blame the movie for dispatching him early at all.
I like Charlize Theron's character, actually. You feel like you're only really seeing a sliver of her storyline. Like it's almost like she's making a cameo in this movie. You know what I mean? Like you're not really seeing her bigger picture. She's just playing a smaller role in this film, but she seemed like a really interesting character. And the only thing that I found really disappointing about her character is that she dies at the end, or that she dies almost in kind of an unimportant fashion.
Yeah, it's kind of unsatisfying.
Exactly, yeah, because you feel like she had so much more to her, but maybe that just plays to her kind of utilitarian role in this film. But you do feel like she has a very interesting
Talk about
backstory.
what you do learn about her, though.
Essentially, she is the daughter, possibly illegitimate, possibly not daughter of Wayland, the head of this corporation that's funding this scientific mission.
And she's next in line.
She's next in line. She's the heir apparent, and she's essentially come on this trip to it seems like she has this dueling, conflicting...
Kind of to placate him to his death.
Yeah, but also, and in some ways you see that she still also wants to connect with him, and this might be like her last chance to connect with him, so she has these conflicting emotions.
Yeah, she plays it really well.
And there's this kind of triumvirate between her and her father and David, and there's these weird feelings, because he's kind of like this weird pseudo-sibling, you know? Actually, someone I saw with made a very interesting point. They said those three could have had their own movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
a sequel to
Wayland, David, and...
A prequel to a prequel, which will be like
prequel
levels of creation.
Exactly, yeah.
Favorite scene. What was your favorite scene in the movie?
It's really weird, but when the giant facehugger plants the queen inside the engineer, that was... If just for the, getting back to the sheer horrific monster nature of these movies, you know what I mean? That really creeped out everyone.
It's pretty. I was literally jumping at squirrels for the next 3 days because it unsettled me so much.
And of course, it's a tie between, of course, the cesareans,
which is the cesarean scene where Noomi Rapace has to use the surgical robot to get an alien out of her is possibly the most horrific thing put on screen in the last 3 years.
That was your favorite scene.
My personal favorite scene was the scene between David and Logan Marshall Green's character where they're discussing why they came and what Logan Marshall Green's character would do in order to find out about their origins.
Was to meet our makers, to get answers. Why they even made us in the first place.
Why do you think your people made me?
We made you because we could.
Can you imagine how disappointing it would be for you to hear the same thing from your creator?
There's so many dynamics at play, and Michael Fassbender plays it so perfectly to Logan Marshall Green's character, who is basically oblivious to what David's intentions kind of are in that scene, and just how it ends with we as the audience are kind of feeling the tension with him planting it into the glass, the black ooze to kind of.
Oh yeah, he's just holding every. I'm watching his finger the whole time because his finger is just like. He's holding everything is just like this finger just hanging there, and you're just like, oh, where is that?
It's pretty incredible. That was my favorite
scene.
The whole film kind of deals with these three tiers of creation, where the engineers created humans, and the humans created David, and they're all kind of present at the same time. David Lindelof, the screenwriter, kind of said that was a dynamic he wanted to explore, and in that scene, David, as we were speaking about earlier, he kind of creates something.
He gets the chance that he never had. He's like Shaw. We find out they're both kind of tied to the same thing. They're both infertile.
Yeah,
and it's almost like this immaculate conception that it actually, when she gets impregnated by or not impregnated, but she has sex with Logan Marshall Green and has this thing grow inside her.
And they're kind of creating something out of a lack of ability to do it elsewhere.
Right.
But what they're creating end up kind of being these monsters, which is kind of an interesting dynamic where they're creating monsters, but it's still a form of creation.
But maybe that ties even bigger into the bigger picture of that's why these engineers wanted to destroy us.
Yeah.
They created monsters and humans unknowingly.
Yeah. I
could be like a third level of, poetic justice to... Okay, you have the engineers who create the humans who create the robot creates this monster, the engineer created the monster that's the human, and the human creates
this kind of circular thing, and then that
robot creates another even worse monster than what was
and then that monster ends up being the demise of the engineer. It's kind of this circular
it's a vicious, definitely a vicious circle. It's really interesting.
It's interesting also that they create these things that are kind of biological weapons, with the ooze kind of creates them, turns everything into a weapon. And like some could argue that the engineers created humans who also kind of turned into weapons. We destroy each other, we kill each other. I'm not saying you could agree with that or not, but I think that the movie is kind of presenting that question.
We are the engineers Frankenstein monster.
Yes, exactly. I think that that's an interesting thing to explore.
I will say very succinctly, my favorite scene in the movie. Everything inside the cave when they're in there for the first time.
The exploration
of it. That gets me so excited. I mean, my favorite part in Alien is when they're in the ship and just kind of seeing it all for the first time. And I still get chills when they see the ship just, perched up on the hill, and Ash is like talking them through what's going on, and the egg sacs and seeing the space jockey and everything. I just love all that, and definitely felt like I was right back in there for the first time again. Watching the scene.
Please tell me you can read that.
What are you doing, David?
I'm attempting to open the door.
Wait. We don't know what's on the other side.
Oops. Sorry.
Do you guys think that it lived up to the hype?
I think it did. I mean, I actually went into this movie not knowing what my expectations were going to be, but you had said something interesting not too long ago, that people were projecting things maybe based off the marketing campaign. I mean, it would be the first time a marketing campaign for a movie misled people, saying that it was supposed to be like the greatest film of all time, or that it was supposed to, answer these bigger questions, or just be a transformative film. And really, I just felt like it was a great monster movie prequel to Alien.
Yeah. I think it lived up to the hype. I was really, really excited about this movie. I'm not a huge Alien fan. I enjoy Alien. I acknowledge Alien. But, I wasn't looking forward to it in that way. I was looking forward to it as a sci-fi movie with hopefully big ideas directed by an insanely skilled director. And in that way, I think it delivered completely.
It succeeded.
I think it's an amazingly constructed film. It looks great. I saw it in 2D. You saw it in 3D.
I saw it in 3D. 3D was amazing. Definitely a fan of the 3D aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of dialed back my excitement level. I've been following the film for years, from the minute it went into production, and now in the last couple weeks, I've been turning off TV commercials and
from when it was
watching...
born in the primordial black ooze, and now it has mutated into
development. It's this development ooze.
Development
it just came out of there. you never knew what film was going to be, but it ended up being great, and I was really happy. I was really happy that I kind of curbed my enthusiasm about it and didn't do what I usually do and watch every little interview and find out all the spoilers beforehand. But it was great. It was great. I think, you know, years from now it will still. I hope it'll still hold up.
I hope so as well.
Because the longer it sat with me, the more it's kind of evolved in my mind. And grown.
I think it's going to hold up. This is the positive end of the spectrum. We will be bringing you the negative end of the spectrum with a few more critics, or a few more viewers who had different opinions than we did. But we really want to know what you think. Please comment below. We will be reading all of the comments and responding to them. So we really want to know what you think. So comment as much as you want. Have fun with it, and that's it. We hope you enjoyed yourselves.